road to securing voting rights for women began in Seneca Falls, New York in 1848 at a women's rights convention led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott. 4 years later, Susan B. Anthony became a prominent member of their ranks. Anthony and her colleagues challenged the nation's practice of not allowing female suffrage through public actions, such as illegally voting in elections and questioning whether or not the 14th Amendment extended to women. In 1878, this group of suffragettes proposed an amendment to the Constitution that would not prohibit the right to vote based on gender. It took 41 years for the proposal to be ratified. Little progress was made before and during the Civil War, but the Reconstruction era saw advances in social reform. And in 1920, after 4 states had allowed women's suffrage and Theodore Roosevelt had featured it in his political platform, the 19th Amendment came into being. After all, didn't democracy demand the equal voting rights of all citizens?
It's all in the voice, and if every vote has to matter, otherwise there is no voice. There's not enough. If no one voted, there'd be no voice. So I guess it takes every individual one to do alone.
The more we examine the subject, the more distinctly we shall see that the right of the woman to participate in government stands upon the same foundation as it does to support the claim that men have with this great right. If he has a natural right to participate in government under which he lives, then she has a natural right to participate in the government under which she lives. For either to exclude the other is usurpation and wrong. Again, women equally with men is subject of law and government, in common with all other citizens. She is bound to know the law and obey it. When she violates it, she is arrested, arraigned, tried, condemned, and like any other citizen, put in jail. The prison doors are shut firmly against her as any other offending citizen. Her womanhood does not excuse her from punishment. The law takes no thought for sex for an apology for crime. She is taxed without representation, governed without her consent, and they could very well ask the question, is this right or just?
But for the 4 decades after the women's suffrage bill was introduced, few members of the government believed women should share these equal voting rights. Susan B. Anthony, considered the Napoleon of the women's rights movement, began an active movement to change the male-dominated nature of government.
She was a prominent American civil rights leader who, along with Elizabeth Cady Stanton, led the effort in securing women's suffrage in the United States.
So do you think the 19th Amendment has been more than just voting?
Yes, it's a whole value system more than anything else to me. The 19th Amendment was a value system, was saying that women are valued for more than what they were valued for in the past.
And it personally affected you?
I'm enjoying the benefits of what it's done for society in terms of what women are entitled to do and the opportunities that we have that we need. So, people say when you go to college that I have a good job. I can own property. All of those things that I feel just need to be all right. I guess could be tied back to that movement of getting women the right to vote.
How has the 19th Amendment personally affected you?
Mostly in the way I was raised, because I was raised in a time where you're coming out of, in my generation, you're coming out of where women were expected to stay home and all this other stuff, and so it changed the way your teachers, as well as your parents, as well as the outside world viewed you. So I think that's the biggest difference it made in my life.
Thanks to the 19th Amendment and the efforts of Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, women everywhere can now vote and, in doing so, influence our community and the nation through political voice. This is important to us today for the obvious reason of participation in important social and political decisions. We are able to actively promote our views by affecting who gets elected and what choices are made by the officials. However, despite this, our relatively newly established rights only legally extend to politics. The 19th Amendment will be celebrating its 100-year birthday in a few years, yet an amendment specifically devoted to equal rights has yet to even pass through Congress.
Have you heard of the Equal Rights Amendment?
Yes.
What do you think about it?
I think it's a necessary necessary amendment to the Constitution.
Were you aware that it hasn't been passed yet?
Really? No, I wasn't.
How do you feel about that?
Not so good.
The Equal Rights Amendment was originally proposed in 1923 by Alice Paul and was continually proposed in Congress until 1972. It was brought up again in 1982 and was ratified by 35 of the 38 necessary states. It has been introduced at each session of Congress, but has yet to be successfully passed. The amendment states that equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Passing the Equal Rights Amendment would consist of enforcing equal pay, requiring women to be drafted for war, and constitutionally prohibiting discrimination based on sex. For us, entering the working world, this means we might receive lower pay based on nothing but our gender. We may have the right to vote, but our civil liberties continue to be limited.
So do you think it's fair that women are getting paid less than men?
No.
However, even though the ERA has not been passed and continues to draw criticism from both men and women, the passage of the 19th Amendment has succeeded in liberating women from previous societal norms. As high school students, we can look forward to going to college, exercising our right to vote, being able to own property, and having control over our own futures.